Welcome back to Saymore. This is Kim, the host of Saymore. I'm the founder of My Mind, where everything is based on mind and energy. We're in season 2, as you already know, which is everything about alternative healing. Healing through energy, healing through your mind, healing through your mindset, healing through naturopathy. Today, it's a pleasure to host Susan Fulignati, who is, hold on to your seats. She is a tarot reader, and she takes us into the entire journey of how different stages and phases in your life show up sometimes through your readings. Actually, I think not sometimes, but always. Susan, welcome to Saymore.
Thanks, Kim. Thank you for having me.
Well, let's start from where did it all begin? Your intuitive journey, your channeling, the entire desire to be serving humanity in this manner.
Well, it all started when I was a child. I've always loved the tarot. I've always been into the cards, spirituality, but I never really took it seriously for myself. I just thought it was something that I had an interest in. But when I was 30, I had what is called the tower moment. And this is like the awakening. This is the moment where you question like the part of your life. Does everything make sense? Do you still want to be on this? And that's when I realized the cards were a very specific tool for me. And I needed to start kind of working on that journey with the cards. So this is the time I actually got an education around the tarot. And I began the transformational journey with the tarot. So I've been practicing for the last 2 years with clients and people. But I think this journey itself has begun a long time ago within my childhood, and I just have to break down all that conditioning of the life I thought I want versus the life I actually want, which is an ongoing journey, of course. But I also continue now with my intuitive development, because not only do I have to study the cards and understand their meanings in so many different ways, I also have to work on my intuition, which is also another ongoing journey. So yeah, it started when I was a child, but I think it's going to be a lifetime of work.
I love the way you said that while you made that shift, you had to work through your conditioning of what was the life that you really wanted. Take us on that journey. What are the things that came up that you were like, that's not my reality any longer?
Well, I think the big one was career. I was always such a career woman. I wanted to get to the top of the career ladder. I wanted to be that powerhouse of a woman. And I always imagined myself to be that way. But I realized that behind that imagination was something that was not satisfied. And I realized that I inherited that kind of dream and fantasy when really it wasn't for me. And I did have success in my career and I did enjoy it. But I can tell you, like when I started working at 19, I was never satisfied. And when I went on that journey, I was like, oh, maybe it's the location I'm working in. So I moved to Paris when I was 23, which was an absolute baptism of fire because I was a young, naive Irish girl moving to a big, bad city like Paris. And I was like, oh, maybe it's just the location. The environment needs to change. And I spent 4 years in Paris and, you know, I had an amazing life. But again, that something deep down was not satisfied. So then I found myself in the UAE. And again, it was just the same thing of kind of jumping country to country to see and chase this career that I thought I wanted. But when I went to work and workplace, I wasn't actually satisfied. So this was a kind of big moment of clarity for me and something to work on. And even up until now, I've been tested because the job offers, the job titles that I would have jumped over you for when I was younger have come to me, and the universe has tested me and be like, do you want it? And I've had positions that I would have sold my grandmother for. And that was like one of the big shifts. I think also in myself and listening to myself, I think what I've learned through the tarot is that we are a product of other people's vision of us. And we forget who we are and we don't know who we are. And this is why we get so foggy in our minds and we don't know what to do because we have so much noise filter through. And to shut out that noise was another piece of work that I had to do. So those are the major shifts I have to say that I had to work on this journey.
I love that every person's journey into becoming who they're stepping into their most honest, authentic, thing that they love always seems to have the same trend of, going that way, doing well, then feeling unfulfilled, even though everything is ticking the box, and then going again back. And when you start walking the path, the test comes. Like everything that you would have manifested is falling at your feet, and you got to say no.
And it's a massive test, because this is when it's counterintuitive, because you're like, hold on a second, I've worked for all of this and now this is the fruits of my labor. Should I, when I kind of sat in my body and was like, would I be satisfied? It would be the same pattern of me starting a new job in a company that I wanted to work for, still having that like falling flat. And as this journey, my career was closing, it got harder and harder and harder and harder to go to work. And like, I'm someone that takes a lot of self-esteem from showing up and doing a good job. So again, this was kind of counterintuitive and working towards that. So I had to make that shift to become a full-time tarot reader, and apply all that hard work to tarot instead. And it is a lot easier. Of course, it has its challenges like any other job. But now I'm on a path that I want. And I'm also grateful for all the skills and experiences I've collected along the way, because now they're being used in the tarot. So the fruits of the labor are just coming through in a different way.
They're being diverted into what really matters. So walk us through, before we actually went live, you were telling me about the major Arcana cards that talk about different phases. Over to you. Tell us and all the listeners and viewers how to know, what does each stand for, or what is the message around there?
So the major arcana is divided into three, and that's the archetypes, the laws, and then the stages of spiritual unfoldment. So the archetypes, are just like the Jungian archetypes of like who we are, how we show up, what our likes and dislikes are. The laws are the laws of the universe, so cause and effect, karma, etc. And then we have the unfoldment, which is something I like to educate people on, because one of the first moments of the spiritual unfoldment or the awakening is this kind of like frazzled, like, oh my God, my life is falling apart. I don't know who I am anymore. I don't want this marriage. I don't know who I am. What is this? And it feels like a death of some sort. And it's the dark night of the soul. And it's that like, oh my God, it's a midlife crisis. You can put any name on it, but it's that point where we're just like, who are we? And it's usually first met with the devil. And the devil card is fear, slander, things you're telling yourself, holding yourself back, tying yourself down. And you have this kind of aha moment of, hold on, what am I being actually tied to? Do I actually really want to? So this is the first part of that unfoldment journey, of that kind of like, hold on, I'm not sure I'm meant to be here, or I'm meant to be with this person. And so it starts to show up first that way. Then we move on to the tower. And if we look at this tower, it's a blast coming from the heavens, and the tower falls. That's your whole life, your structure, your relationship, your career, wherever you are in life. It literally falls apart because it is built on fear and not the truth. And it's God's power. It's that flash of insight that, what you built means nothing. I'm tearing it down. It gets to the part where we're like at the star, which is naked, like nothing left to lose. Like I've got nothing left. I've got no clothes on. Like, and it's back of the ego, stripped back of self. And here she is at the foot of a river, and you can see that there's 7 stars around her. And this is actually to represent the chakra system, and how you have to rebuild yourself chakra by chakra until you become one whole star, one whole self. And it does take, the journey into the self, whilst maintaining one foot on the ground, because we do live on planet Earth. And sometimes like people, when they go in this journey, they want to live on a different dimension or a different get really caught up in the spirituality. And the tarot is like, hold on a second, we live on this planet, so yes, dive deep into yourself, but put one foot on the ground. Then we move on to the moon. So the moon is the channeling of information, it's illusion, it's like brain fog dissipating, it's that journey into self, it's the yods that are falling here, and these are messages from God, and it's that return to who I really am. So this is a stage where a lot of people are at right now, where they're like going through like full moon ceremonies or coming to heal. This is coming up, this is coming up, this is coming up. So all that regurgitation of all the bull crap we've been through coming up for us to deal with. And you'll notice that this is all nighttime cards. So this is the dark night of the soul. Then we start to move into the sun. So this is when we're like, oh, I know who I am. It's relief, it's enlightenment, it's abundance, it's, you know, I know where I'm going now, I have direction, the sun is shining, the light is shining, I know what I'm doing with my life. That's counteracted with the shadow previously. So it's that light and shadow duality that we have. And then we get to the world card. And this is, sorry, judgment is first. We get to judgment, and judgment is one of my favorite cards. You can see that angel just like da, 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 awakening. And that's all your limitations within you. Just kind of, again, you're like, no, I don't actually have any limitations. You kind of release those blocks. You're listening to your internal self and those internal rumblings. And you're like, I actually know what I'm doing. It's that real kind of empowerment, because I know all my bad, I know all my shadow, and that's not even going to stop me anymore. I know who I am now. And then we get to the world, and this is the completion of this journey. And it doesn't mean that you're completed in life, it just means that you've kind of come full circle with this, and you know, you can, you know, take your life where you want to be now. And the point is here that she is within this kind of wreath. You can see here, boundaries as well. It's like, I'm channeling, I'm protecting myself, I'm choosing my own life, I'm choosing my own world. So it's that kind of completion process. And this can come up in different stages of the life, this unfoldment. It can be in relationships and it can be career. It can be any part. You can be at different levels at different times. But this is the healing journey according to tarot.
Wow. That is, you know, now that I'm seeing it in the way you've shown it, it makes so much of sense, because it comes with the breaking down of what's happening, the breakdowns for the breakthroughs, and then that journey to knowing yourself, creating yourself, and then walking into, like you said, you know, that beautiful protected, heightened energy.
Yeah. And I think like when I learned this, it made a lot of sense in my head, but it also took away the personal aspect of my suffering. So before, when I was suffering, I was like, the world is ending. Oh my God, I've made so many bad decisions in my life. What is this? And I thought it was me. But it's that cliche. It's you, not me. It's just the world. This is how the journey that we're on. And the tarot is here to help you make sense of that world and give you clarity. It's that sacred mirror into the self to be like, right, how, if I look into myself, what can I find? And we're a tool using species. So it makes sense that tarot is one of those tools to help us with self-reflection.
So take me on this, the next aspect of this, Susan. You know, usually when you all pull out cards and it's for masses, like if you're doing a video, if you're doing a reading on Instagram, there's 1, 2, 3 cards that are usually shown. And then people choose a card that's for them, and then there's a reading. From the intuitive and channeling perspective, how do you think that works?
I think there's multiple facets to that one. I think each card reading is for a specific person. So not everyone is going to resonate with a card reading, but if someone's looking for, it's that cliche, or not that cliche, but that metaphor, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So when the person is ready, the message will appear. And for me, that's what those kind of pick a card readings is for. It's like, I just need some sort of message and that will come up. I think the danger with general readings, which is something I'm quite conscious of, is that it can put ideas into people's heads and it can be too generic and it doesn't diagnose the root cause of the problem or the clarity needed. So I do have a lot of clients and they do say, oh, I've been watching on YouTube, and I'm like, okay, that's and I love that you have an interest in tarot and you're using this as self-reflection, but remember that this is going to the masses. There is a lot of marketing behind that. There's a lot of words being used, and this can get into your head. So you still need to be discerning enough to be able to be like, that means something to me or it doesn't. And again, tarot is just about firing up the mind and being like, does this resonate with me? Okay, that's something maybe I need to work on. Or no, it doesn't make any sense to me. And that discernment is really important in tarot. If you don't resonate, it's not for you. And that
in general readings.
Yeah.
I want to pick up on the part that you said that in a general reading, or rather in a one-on-one, you can actually go to the source of the person's soul journey, their soul lesson, whatever is coming up. most people have never looked at tarot as that. People usually look at tarot as, I want to see a little bit
Yeah.
of my
Like
future.
entertainment, just like, ooh.
Yeah, but not as, I want to know, what am I doing wrong that I'm creating repetitive patterns all over in my life? So tell us how tarot brings that clarity and brings that direction to somebody that actually goes and gets a reading.
Yeah. So again, think of a mirror and looking into a mirror, and you can see yourself. And the tarot is just like that. It's your mind, it's your soul, it's your inner self that you can see clearly and you can make sense of. And this is like when I say to my clients, like, this is your space to ask questions. And it might be bizarre to you and me, but it's not. Like, what blocks me? How can I get closure on the past? How did this affect me? Why am I so sad? A lot of people think tarot questions are about, will he text me back? Like, thankfully those are actually the kind of the less frequent questions now, but now this, like, my clients and like the journeys that we're on is deeper. What's blocking me? Like, how can I bring more awareness to my situation? It's that clarity, it's shining that light, it's the sun card, and using that tool to help. So if you just imagine it as a mirror, it's enlightenment, it's a bird's eye view on your life, it's making sense of the different jigsaw pieces of your life and putting them together. And that's what tarot is. And I always say to my clients, ask as many questions as possible. Do not be afraid. Do not be shy. Like, just ask. It's not about me. It's not about the cards. It's about you and your space and you processing. So you'll see a lot of the time in readings, which I love, is that someone will start to stare off into space and then they'll have this kind of jolt. And again, it's that aha flash. It's like, oh, that makes sense now. And that's that awakening, or I think in the spiritual community it's called activations. So that is the activation, that moment of like, oh, I know what I'm doing now.
That's amazing. That is amazing. And it's so simple, right? Because when we look at life and saying that there are so many different facets of information that bring me back home to my heart center, to my soul anchoring, then all we need to do is just go and tap into it.
That's all it is.
So once again, Susan, what are the different stages and phases that you would suggest anyone listening to just go and, with an open mind, with an open energy, and access a tarot reading?
That's an amazing question. Thank you. So obviously the obvious one is the clarity, the making decisions. So this is a really good use of tarot because it's investigating different timelines based on different possibilities. So should I stay? Should I go? We will explore, should I stay? We will explore, should I go? Again, closure. So breakups, job losses, death, things that have happened to us in our past that we still can't really make sense of, but it's still affecting our future and our present. So spending that time processing that and putting that to bed nicely. Again, the spiritual unfoldment journey. So if you're in that kind of phase of life where you're like, nothing is making sense anymore, tarot will help you just, card by card, brick by brick, to build yourself up again. And one of my favorite types of readings is the blind spot. So we all have a blind spot. We all, think we're aware, and we all have a control over our life, but there might be something that is affecting us that we're not even aware of. I had this reading once where this girl, she's like, I am so depressed. I have done therapy. I've done the work. I've read every self-help book. Like, what is it? Why am I so upset? But we dug deep, and it actually was her parents' divorce. And even though it was a very conscious and amicable divorce, and again, the family was unaffected, it became a very blended family, and her childhood was very good. That root, that seed point, was still actually affecting her. So we have to kind of, weed out that seed and replace with something else. So seed points changing as well, blocks, removing those things that you think you know about yourself. Because again, our personality can be inherited, which is one of my favorite things about the magician card. He has his table and he has all his tools, but they're his tools. And sometimes we forget that personality that we think, conditioning, is inherited. And it's like, no, we're going to break down those layers and we're going to get to you. And since that reading, that girl has just been flourishing and just having the time of her life. And those for me are the most rewarding readings.
It's incredibly, I don't know, magical when, we just, that uprooting is all that is required.
Yeah.
We think that I'm going to nip the bud, but guess what? That's already a tree. You've got to go back to the basics, uproot, release it all, and then just replant.
Yeah. And there's such a power in that. And this is where you begin to build self-trust. This is when you can create this conscious creation because you know yourself. And even for me in my own personal journey, looking for those blind spots is key. Because you think you might have an issue with something, but actually it's not actually the elephant in the room that you should be dealing with. It's just a fascinating journey. And this is why, again, the tarot is such an incredible tool for this, because it is a mirror. You can look at yourself and even behind you without turning your head. So you have this such a multi-dimensional view of yourself, and you can bring yourself such clarity and direction. And I think, again, it's a gift for all of us to use these tools because they are given to us.
Absolutely. I mean, they're sitting right there. We just got to go and reach for it, uproot stuff that is repetitively showing up, and then live a very peaceful, happy, abundant life.
Yep.
Susan, where can our listeners and followers find you, reach you, get a reading from you, or take on any of the other courses that you teach about?
Well, you can find me on Instagram on Susan Nora Tarot. And my website is also noratarot.com. And you can reach out to me directly and DM me. I have a booking link that's on my Instagram, which you can use. But of course, if you just want to chat to me beforehand, feel free to do so. I love talking to everybody. I love talking about tarot. So I'm always up for that. And we can book in a reading. I also am doing courses starting from September with one of my, I want to say, colleagues, Nick. He's in Australia, and we have started together the International Tarot Society because we want to teach tarot for you to use it as a tool for your own guidance. We have a very similar approach to reading tarot, so we said we'd start this school together, and this will be starting on the 6th of September. And you can find me on Patreon at Susan Nora Tarot. And here's a membership or a subscription service that you can have your own weekly meetings, weekly readings, full moon rituals, just, again, learning about the tarot and the inner and the healing journey. So I'm available across a few platforms.
Well, that's wonderful. All the information is in the show notes for anyone that's connecting. And if you are in Dubai, then keep your eyes and ears glued onto Instagram, because when Susan comes back, we'll definitely have her in one of our workshops where you can actually get a reading and meet her and take it from there. Susan, thank you so much for coming and joining Saymore, sharing with people things that definitely to me is new information, the different Arcana cards, the different stages. It's information now seems like power. So thank you once again. But before you go, the podcast is called Saymore. What, according to you, should people be saying more about?
Oh, well, the obvious answer is their own truth, of course. But I think we need to be saying more with empathy. I think we actually should be saying less in some cases. I think we should need to be actively listening before we say more. So say more of what matters. And before we speak, really considering our words and the impact of them on other people. Because a lot of my clients, they are impacted by the things that were said to them. So be saying more consciously. I think that would be my answer to that question.
I love that. Say more consciously. Use your words with intent. Because not only it affects your subconscious, but it's affecting someone else's consciousness massively. Well, thank you so much, Susan. It was such a pleasure to have you and host you on Saymore. Everybody tuning in, have a nice life. Enjoy your day today. Enjoy the entire month. Don't forget to listen to us on the different platforms. You have us on Spotify, Anchor, and Apple. And if you want to see all the cards Susan shared, head over to the YouTube channel, which is MIE Mind, MIND. Talk to you soon. Bye for now.
Bye. See you soon.